Hello, VR students. I hope you're all doing well, staying happy, healthy, and safe. Well, the time has come for us to have the talk about getting content into your headset using Unity 3D. So, let's get started. There's a few assumptions that I'm going to make going into this one that you've installed Unity 3D already, specifically version 2020.2, F1, I think, but 2020.2. If you have that installed, you're good to go, almost. Also, make sure that you have the Oculus desktop software installed, even though this is a wireless, tetherless, whatever headset, mobile headset. You're still going to need to have the Oculus desktop software installed to develop for it. Okay? So keep that in mind. So if you don't have that installed, it's super easy. You just go to oculus.com/setup. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and that'll get it on your machine. Just download it, follow the instructions, click next, 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 and you'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to keep the video up here. I'm going to make it smaller because, one of the things that you probably have already figured out developing software is it's somewhat of an emotional experience. Stuff breaks, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you record about a third of the video and then Unity crashes and you've got to start all over again. So I'm keeping this lovely mug up here so I can emote at the camera when the time is right. Anyway, so I'm not saying that Unity 3D is terribly unstable, and it's not. It's just moderately unstable. So occasionally it crashes and crashes unexpectedly, so save your work. Fortunately, it's stable more often than it's not. That's good. And it's gotten more stable over time, so each version I've seen has gotten progressively better. So anyway, another frustration of being a programmer is it's sometimes easier to update an API or a toolkit than it is to update the documentation for that API and toolkit. Having said that, developing for the headset, I've gone ahead and done a substantial amount of tweaking and research to figure out what parameters we need to set and where to make this as smooth of a development process as we can. And the sad truth of the matter is these values, these options, these whatever, are probably only going to be relevant for maybe the next few months. So as long as we're working with the environment that we've got set up that we specify for the class, you should be good to go. But I had Unity Hub opened up here so that you can see, I've been doing a lot of testing, and most of these were failed tests that broke in some way or didn't work on the headset one way or another that I particularly wanted it to go. Anyway, so what I did a moment ago was set up a project called Quest 2 Demo, and then Unity crashed. So for purposes of showing you this from the beginning to the end, let's pretend that's not there and make a new one. We're going to go to New, and if you got multiple versions of Unity installed, click the arrow, and it'll list the versions that you have installed. We want to develop for 2020.2. So let's select that. And it's going to ask you for the name of your project. We're going to call this Another Quest 2 Demo. And select 3D and click Create. And what you're not seeing is on the other monitor, the Unity logo, which you can't move, has popped up, but this little loading dialog, you can move it. So give you something to look at while we're waiting. So it's doing all the basic get the environment started stuff, importing basic things. Hey, and it finished and opened up again on the other window, but that's okay because that's my primary desktop, so that's probably why it's opening there. And boom, we've got a Unity environment. So this is the basic scene. If you have a mouse with lots of buttons, right-clicking will let you move your view of the scene around. Right-clicking and holding and dragging your mouse. Scroll wheel will zoom you in and out. Click the scroll wheel and drag will let you translate the environment. So, that'll help you navigate around the 3D space as you're building stuff. So, for video games, 3D stuff, you have a virtual camera. And you can see here it says main camera. Counterintuitively, we're going to want to delete that. Because the Oculus Integration Oculus Integration Tools has its own camera rig that we're going to want to be using. So before we jump into that, there are a few settings that you're going to want to set here in the player. So first of all, we're going to want to go to File and Build Settings. There we go. And it's going to open up another window that looks like this. For developing for the Quest, you're going to want to click on Android. Okay, important. For texture compression, you're going to want to click this and use ASTC. Why use that specific texture compression? Because the Oculus documentation suggests it. Next thing you're going to want to do, if you haven't hooked your display up to your computer, go ahead and plug it in. When you plug it in, look in the headset. It's going to ask you if you want the PC with fingerprint, yada, 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 to communicate or share data or whatever with the headset. Click Accept. And matter of fact, so if you're going to be using the machine you're on always to develop for this headset, it's just more convenient to go ahead and click the little Always, Trust, or whatever option and Accept. And once you do that, it will then list, after some dinging, you'll hear like the little doo-doo-doo sound indicating that your computer is hooking up your headset to your machine. It's detected a device. What you'll want to do is click this drop-down box and select Quest 2, and this is going to be the serial number right there that for your headset. This is in case you're developing for multiple headsets, which you can do, so you can compare them by serial number if you need to. If it doesn't show up, you can click refresh, but if it's giving you trouble here, don't worry too much about it. Just be sure that when you develop, you come back and look and make sure that it's got the device specified. Okay, and now we can click Switch Platform. Get ready for this. And we're waiting. You want to do this actually pretty early in the process before you import a bunch of other libraries, because it takes forever once you've already imported the Oculus Integration Toolkit or something like that for it to do the platform switch. I guess it's doing some pre-compiling or something for whatever architecture you've got selected in your build settings ahead of time. Don't know. But you're going to want to do this before you do any of the other stuff. The next thing you're going to want to do is go down here to Player Settings and click that guy, and a new window pops up, of course off screen. Okay. Now, what you're going to want to do is make sure that the player option is selected over here on the left-hand menu. Now, over on the right-hand side, you're going to want to look down under Other Settings and find Graphics APIs. Vulkan. It's new, it's amazing, it's fast, it's wonderful, and we don't need it. It will make things not work. And you want things to work. Now, granted, if you're doing a regular game running on a PC, sure, heck, keep it in there. But for the Quest, you're going to want to remove it because it will give you errors. So remove the Vulkan. And let's see, there's another option down here we're going to want to set. Yep. Okay, right here, minimum API level. If you don't set this to at least 23, you're going to have problems. Matter of fact, forget I said at least 23. Just set it to 23 because that's what presently works. And again, in a few months, you might have to tweak these settings as things get updated. But right now, select that and go to Android 6.0 Marshmallow, API level 23. Okay, and so you select that, and there's one more thing we need to do here. Back over on that left-hand menu, down here at the bottom, there's an option that says XR Plugin Management. Click it. When you click that, you're going to see this, XR Plugin Management. In order to use the new XR plugin system, you need to install the XR Plugin Management package. Fortunately, it gives you a nice, convenient little button that says Install XR Plugin Management. Click it. And then you wait. I don't think it really takes that long. I can't remember. We're about to see. Okay, awesome. So once it finishes installing, you get this lovely menu where you've got AR Core, you have Oculus, and you have Unity Mock HMD. You probably guessed it, folks. we're going to want to select Oculus, and then it's going to do install packages, which is okay. I mean, it's good. I speak with an inflection of sarcasm when I'm doing this, but it's good that it's doing all of this for you, because it's more frustrating when you used to have to do this all manually. Though there are a few manual things we're going to need to do. Okay, so everything else here should be good. Okay, so we can close that out. Now we're going to want to also close this window. Now, one thing that I recommend is you go up here to Window and go to, I believe, Package Manager. Okay. Now, the Package Manager will look like this. A lot of this has changed since some of the earlier versions of Unity that I worked with. So some of this is very new, especially the fact that the asset store has more or less vanished from inside the Unity IDE, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. Okay, but what I want you to look for now is Oculus Xr Plugin. If you don't see it there, you can click over here and type Oculus XR, and it should show up. Now what it should show is that you've got version 1.6.1 with a little green check showing that it is verified. For reasons that I am not entirely certain why, I have had better performance out of 1.7.0. So you probably noticed there's a little button there that said Other Versions. Click that, go to 1.7.0, and then down here at the bottom, click Update to 1.7.0. And again, installing stuff. Okay, so now we are good here. All right. So let's see. Here's one thing I want to do. Okay, so one of the things you're going to want is to get the Oculus integration. Okay, cool. So let me bring this window over here so you can see it. Okay, so if you go to developer.oculus.com, we are going to want to get started, and Unity, and here we go. You're going to want to get the Oculus integration. So go to the Oculus integration page. Okay. And you're going to want to, oops, that was a weird little blip. You're going to want to get the latest version right now, presently, that is 23.1. So what you can do is you can click Open in Unity. So, and it'll prompt you, if you want to go to your Unity editor, and the appropriate answer here is yes, you want to open it with the Unity editor. Okay. And sign in to access your assets. I'm signed in, buddy. Why are you giving me problems? Okay. So if you're not presently signed in, or you've been signed out, probably because it crashed earlier, it probably signed me out. You'll get the Unity Hub sign in with an account that you have, like your Gmail or your Google or your Facebook or your Apple sign-on, or you can create a new account if you don't have a Unity Dev account already. Okay, there we go. Now it's refreshing packages. Yeah, there we go. There's all my packages. Okay. And there is Oculus Integration. Okay, so click that guy, currently downloaded, and go over here and click the Import button. And this might actually take a little while because there's a lot of stuff in this package. Okay, and when you click import, you're going to see this window. This is what your import window for Unity assets looks like. You're going to see this a lot as you go in through the semester for whatever package you're importing. There's a lot of stuff in here, like a lot, and it's going to take a long time to import it. But sometimes you don't want to import everything that's in the package that you're trying to import. For today's purposes, we're going to have to suffer through the length of it because we're going to want the whole thing, okay? So what you do is you go down here. It's probably already selected for all, but just to be safe, click that all button and then click import. And we wait again. That's okay. I don't mind waiting. And the funny thing about this is even though we've done a lot of periodic waiting, now that I'm recording this, it all feels like it's How you guys been? Doing well since class this morning? I hope so. For those of you who are curious, I showed the pictures of the GE Handyman 1960s motion cap / robot monstrosity to the data science class. I think they appreciated seeing it as well. And we're still waiting. But that's okay. They say good things come to those who wait. I'm not going to say that, developing under this environment is a good thing. It's definitely a productive thing to do. But, I could think of better things to be waiting on. Like pie. You guys ever had like pineapple pie? It's amazing. My grandmother used to cook it all the time. Now that my mother is a grandmother, she cooks it all the time. It might be a grandmother thing in my family, but it's absolutely delicious. And we're still waiting. While we're waiting, do you want to look at a plasma globe? I've got a broken one over here that's sort of kind of a taser now, but also still works as a plasma globe. Yeah. These things are really cool. I love them. They're really fun. Here's the taser part. Here's the globe part. Put them together and you have Taser Globe. For you Marvel fans out there, I am Taserface. Anyway. You better have laughed at that. If you didn't laugh at that, it's okay not to be a Marvel fan, but, thumbs up if you got that joke. Okay. And there we go. I don't know if it's actually showing up because it's kind of dark or kind of bright in here, and you sort of need a dark background to see it. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. But if we put the book behind it. Yeah. Cool plasma globe stuff. The interesting thing about plasma globes is they actually make a fairly strong static electric field around them, which can then be used to excite fluorescent gases. You're going to see me do this demonstration when we get to tracking, but, might as well show you right now. This is a broken fluorescent bulb. See, it says bad on it. That's how you know it's broken. But if you get it close enough to the plasma globe, notice it starts to glow itself. It turns on. Well, it sort of turns on. It just, the fluorescent gases and the fluorescent powder coating on the inside of this starts to illuminate in presence of the static electric field. Kind of cool, right? Awesome stuff. Been thinking a lot about power supplies lately. Mostly because I'm trying to build a special purpose AC power supply for a nifty display. This is not the power supply that I built, but it's one that I've repurposed for testing. This thing right here is a vacuum tube called a Nixie tube. They're really awesome. But it has actually, it's not technically a vacuum. It's got neon gas on the inside. And this is a literal digital display, as in it only displays digits. Yeah. It's like it actually has little filaments in there that excite the neon gas and makes them glow neon orange. I love the shade of neon orange. That's kind of cool. And depending on which pin you connect to, you can display different digits. This was made obsolete eventually by the little LCD digital displays. But still, I absolutely love the look of a Nixie tube. When I was a kid, I had a calculator. Got it out of some sort of junk. But it was a calculator whose display was Nixie tubes. And man, I wish I still had that. But Nixie tubes are very, very pretty display elements. Completely, well, I wouldn't say completely useless, but mostly useless in modern times. But, you know, still kind of fun to play with. There's another digital display out there. It's called a Nemo tube, which is like a CRT that just displays digits. Yeah, those are really rare. I'd love to get my hands on one someday. Saw some videos on the interwebs about using them. They're really cool. Anyway, I really expected, like, talking about pineapple pie and showing you Nixie tubes to, you know, be sufficiently long of a wait for this thing to have finished, but it hasn't. So, what else can we converse about in the meantime? I mean, hypothetically, I could, you know, go and edit out this middle part of the video, but that requires editing, and editing is hard and time-consuming, and I am but a mere computer scientist. Yeah. Anyway. It's still going. This is frustrating. So anyway, just talking a little bit about building a power supply for this guy. The power supply that I'm using to test it right now isn't strong enough to do, or anyway, it doesn't provide sufficient current to display more than one of those tubes. And I want to display a lot of them. I got a bag full of them for Christmas. By bag full, I mean like 6. I would love to have more, though. So I'm trying to build a power supply. I could order one, but there's no fun in that. To power, you know, 6 of these things at once. And it has been an interesting challenge. I got most of the way there using, oddly enough, parts from an old camera. The board that drove the flash on it had a really nice beefy capacitor, a nice inductor, and a little teeny tiny transformer. And I think I can actually use those parts to do what I need, but we'll have to wait and see. It's a big honkin' big honkin' capacitor. It's a 330 volt, 170 nanofarad capacitor. So kind of cool. Now, I accidentally said transformer. If you want to see a big honkin' transformer, I got one of those too. Oh, Lord have mercy on us all. This thing is heavy. So, yeah, our microwave crapped out last year, and I got this awesome transformer out of it. This thing will kill you, okay? It will kill you. Don't go and try this at home unless you know what you're doing. Or at least, anyway, know what you're doing before messing with them. But this freaking thing is a beast. That's a big transformer. We've also got an old Variac, which is a variable transformer in the garage that I play around with every now and then. It's used. It needs some cleaning up, but it works, which is good. You want high voltage things to actually work, otherwise they will frickin' kill you. So, you know, be careful. We're still waiting, and I'm sitting here rambling on about transformers. Well, I learned about a new kind of transformer recently. I was scavenging old parts from US Robotics 56K modem, external, Sportster edition, the good kind, other day. And I was actually looking for parts to use for this project, and I saw this. I'm like, well, dang, that's a nifty looking little transformer. See, he's tiny. But I hooked it up to test it, and I was getting the same voltage in as I was getting out. What kind of transformer is that? Turns out this is something called an audio transformer. It's used for filtering noise. So yeah, you get the same amount of voltage in as you do out. It's not stepping it up, it's not stepping it down, but it's using the isolation between signal coming in and signal going out to filter out noise. You hooked it up to the scope, and it's really weird. It gets this. You put a sine wave into it, and you get something that's not quite sawtoothy out. It's really weird, but still, it's fun little thing to play with. And so, for those of you keeping track, Unity is got a little timer on the screen, and it says that it has been going for 10 minutes and 37 seconds. I'm going to place a bet on like 12 and a half minutes. So we've got about 2 more minutes to enjoy this leisurely conversation about miscellany. What else is interesting that we can talk about for 2-ish minutes? I don't know. There's lots of interesting stuff in here. Let's see. We talked about Nixie tubes. We talked about transformers. We talked about power supplies a wee bit. My little daughter likes to come over here and play around, which is, she's never unescorted, because this is not the place for a 2-year-old to be playing. But she loves watching all of the stuff light up. And she's actually starting to learn like the names of some of the parts, which is really cool. I'm sure she'll forget them soon, but it's kind of fun. Plus, she can name all the planets. That's fun too. 11 minutes and 46 seconds. What to do next? If you guys were on the video right now, like we're doing Zoom class, I would ask you to tell me what to talk about. But, right now, we're just waiting. I can talk about this. This is nifty. This is a Radial Opto encoder. It is an input device. This actually came off of a CNC lathe. Probably late 80s would be my guess. Let me see, does it have a manufacture date? Oh, not late 80s. The date code is 7th week of 1983. Believe it or not, I'm even older than this thing. Wow. Actually, that is not a conventional date code, because it also has an inspection sticker with a date handwritten on it. That is July 1983, not 7th week. Specifically, it was inspected in Japan on the 29th of July, 1983. Neat. But anyway, I'm modifying a CNC machine that I've got in my garage to be manually controlled. Which, if you know what a CNC router is, it is a robot that cuts stuff for you. Imagine a 3D printer, but in reverse. Instead of adding material to make something in 3D, you're cutting material away. So you put a block of wood, or block of plastic, or block of metal, or it doesn't have to be a block, but you know what I mean. And it cuts away what doesn't need to be there, and you're left with a part that you've designed. Well, there are manual milling machines that do, well, the same thing, but a human does it. Same-ish things. And occasionally, I find myself where I just want to put, like, three very precisely placed holes in a piece of something, anything. Example, of course. And oh my gosh, we're at 14 minutes and 20 seconds. And, I don't want to bring up my CAD program and sketch that up and copy all the files over and then execute it and do all the stuff, to make the robot do that. It's just easier if I had a little digital display that told me the position that I was on the bed, and some nifty little control mechanisms to position the end mill where I needed to go. Yeah. So, interestingly enough, a guy I follow on YouTube independently started doing this to his machine, and I like what he called it. He called it like power steering for his milling machine, which that's a nice analogy. But yeah, fun stuff. I have too many projects. I'm never going to be able to finish them all, ever. Ah. And we're waiting. This is really frustrating for a couple reasons, one of which is I have a hard deadline in like 7 minutes where I've gotta get off the phone. Or whatever this thing is. I gotta get off the phone. Yeah, this feels like a phone call. It feels a lot like a class meeting where you guys are just being really quiet. Yeah. Wait for it. 16 minutes. This is a mild bit. I swear. When you get older, your brain just stops working right, and words just stop coming in the right order. Hey, but that's okay. Being older ain't too bad. Oh, lots of activity, copying lots of stuff. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Well, this audio transformer out of that US robotics modem reminded me of something. So, back when I was considerably younger, one of my first jobs, not my first job, probably my first taxable job. You do other stuff like, oh my gosh, it finished. You won't get to hear that story now. What would his first job have to do with audio transformers? You may never know, because we got better stuff to do now. Okay. Oculus Utilities has detected a newer version of the OVR plugin. My gut here says click yes. So we'll click yes. And OVR plugin has been updated to 1.15. Please restart the Unity editor for the update process. Well, when in Rome, click restart. A new spatializer plugin is found. Do you want to upgrade it? Yes, go ahead and upgrade it. And guess what? It's going to want to restart Unity for that as well. So click restart. And yes, we're going to want to save our project. Notice lots of weird errors have just randomly started popping up for no apparent reason in the background. You can safely ignore those for the time being. Okay, so we save the environment and Unity is restarting on the other desktop. Okay, so we're back. This looks good, I guess. All right. Okay, so we're almost to a point where we can start doing stuff. Before you start building your virtual world, we need to add a virtual camera to it. Specifically, so Unity has these things called prefabs. They're essentially a lot of work that someone has done that they've made where it can be cloned. So it's a prefabricated object. So they've put together a game object that has a camera in it, has your controllers, has your hands, the whole 9 yards. And it's wonderful and amazing and makes life very simple. because back in the day you had to write this yourself. So having prefabs is actually pretty nice. The thing that I dislike about it is that it does separate you a little bit from the nuts and bolts, but for most development stuff you do these days, you don't necessarily have to know the nuts and bolts of how it's rendering your scene in order to make something compelling and cool. So anyway, in your window here, you're going to have a project tab, and you're going to have something here that says assets. These little tabs are movable. They can be moved around all over the place. So if it's in a different location on your setup, that's fine. This is just the setup that I like to use, with the scene hierarchy over here, the project assets down here, and then the inspector, the thing that gives you information about stuff in your scene, over here on the right. So what we want to do is locate your project tab, make sure your assets are selected, and then over here, double-click the Oculus folder. Inside of there, you've got another folder called VR. Double-click that. And now you have a beautiful folder called Prefabs. Open that one up too. Okay. Now you got some interesting things in here. First thing you're going to want to do for your first project, we're going to get into more of the nuts and bolts of these things later on. But right now, for your first project, just getting your on the ground and running so you can find your feet. Hopefully you found your feet before you start running. That would seem to be maybe not a great direction to go if you're running without having first found feet. Anyway, there's an object here called OVR, Oculus Virtual Reality, Player Controller. You're going to want to drag this prefab into the virtual world. Okay? Okay, now you got it. And this puts your virtual camera into the scene. Let's see. Inside of here, it has some game objects, one defining your forward direction, and this is your OVR camera rig, the actual camera that's like looking out into the world. And then you got one under that says tracking space. What we're going to want to look for, so you got one for representing your left eye, your cyclopean eye, or your center eye, the midpoint between them. Another object representing your right eye. These are what we're going to want to look for. So what I want you to do, for right now, you can open these guys up, and you see it's got left-hand anchor, right-hand anchor. Well, there's an OVR object called OVR hand prefab. There should be one over here for... anyway, yeah. So we've also got controller prefab. But, yeah, for right now, let's just work with the controller prefab. We can drag that in and drag it onto the left controller anchor. When you do that, it appears there. And over here in the inspector, it's got all this other stuff. We'll deal with those when we get around to it. Right now, you want to tell it specifically that you're using the left touch controller. So the controllers that come with the Quest are the touch style controllers. So select L touch. For the right one, you select it and drag the controller prefab onto it as well. And guess what? Over here under controller, select R touch. Cool, right? And yeah, that's got us most of the way there. Let's see. One of the things you're gonna want to do, and this is a little annoying and frustrating, and there's something really cool in it, but we need to wrap the video up. One of the things you're going to want to do is also right-click in the inspector window, somewhere outside of all of this stuff. Right-click and go to Create 3D Object, and put a plane. Now this plane may be arbitrarily placed in your scene. Notice this one just appeared at like -0.5, y7, z negative. Be sure that that is set to 0, 0, 0. Okay. And this is going to serve as your ground plane. Okay. So once you've got that, one of the things you're going to want to do is now go into your build settings, and there's one thing that we overlooked. So if you go to player settings, other settings, yeah, color space, you're going to want to change that to linear. and click Change to Linear. Wow. So, while that's going, we're going to wait and probably cut out this part of the video altogether because I've got to go now downstairs. Okay, we'll pick up on this after supper time. See you guys soon. Okay, so it finally finished doing the color conversion or whatever. So now our color space is set to linear. And if it looks like there's different light out the window and I'm wearing a different shirt and I'm using a different microphone because my headset did not charge overnight, it's all in your head. This all happened in one giant cut. Anyway, so moving right along. So now we've got our player settings done. We should be ready to build for the headset. So you go ahead and close this out, and you probably still have your build and run window open. I want to show you something. We'll come back to the build and run window. Because there's this nifty menu up here now that says Oculus, and it says OVR Build, and OVR Scene Quick Preview, and OVR Build APK and Run. Sometimes these work. Sometimes they don't. I don't know why. It looks like they were added here for your convenience. They do give you a little bit more debugging information when they work, but honestly they've failed for me more often than they've worked. So I encourage you to go ahead and use just the regular old Unity build and run to run the program on your headset. Okay, so let's click that, and it's going to ask you where to save your APK file. This is your Android application. This is the program that's going to be built by Unity that you will upload to Blackboard, that you'll share with me, that you'll share with your classmates, and that we will get to run on our headsets and try your world. Cool, right? We're just going to call this Q2 Demo and save. Okay, and it's starting to build. Now, I believe I mentioned this earlier in the video. My headset is, there we go. I believe I mentioned this earlier in the video, but you're going to want to have connected your headset up to your machine. You can do this using the USB-C cable that's included with the Quest. I also included an old school USB to USB-C cable in there as well. So if you don't have USB-C, you can still use, the cable that's included to connect up. So yeah, going to need to have it connected while this is happening. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, once you connect it up, it's going to ask you to allow your PC to have access to the headset. Go ahead and do that, and there's a little checkbox that says always allow. If you're going to be developing on this machine for the rest of the semester, I say just go ahead and always allow it. That way you don't have to worry about it too much. It'll probably also ask you to allow file access, maybe. If I remember correctly, there's two dialogues it asks you about, so just allow for both of those before you start building. Okay, so we're compiling shaders right now. We're spending a lot more time. We're halfway through this process. 100 or 780 something out of 1,500-ish things being compiled. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Let's see. Anything else I want to tell you about these guys? Again, just reiterating what we talked about before, we've got these silicone covers on here. Clean these after anyone uses your headset. Clean them before letting someone else use your headset. As a matter of fact, avoid letting other people use your headset. Keep these guys clean. That's the important part for our modern day and age, and really any day and age, because let's be honest, putting your face stuff on someone else's face is just nasty with these things. So be hygienic. Yeah, still compiling. But now the cool thing is when it finishes compiling, your world should automatically open in here. Plus, it'll also be uploaded. So if you go into your applications, you should actually see it listed in there. And I'll include a little video showing you how to launch your applications from within this thing, so that'll be it. It'll be useful. Okay. Still compiling shaders. Okay, we'll pick this up when it finishes compiling stuff. Okay, at this point something wonderful has happened. Unity finished compiling your virtual world, your content has been uploaded to your headset, and guess what? It even started it for you. So, you can stick your head in here and, see what we just built. So, I should have this, it's showing up on there. Okay, so, here is what could potentially be the most boring virtual world you're going to build all semester. Yeah, there we go. It's just a plane with your two controllers and, well, your headset. And that's it. This is all you need to do to get started. Now, adding things to your virtual environment works just like doing anything else in Unity. You can import 3D models you find on the internet, or you can go to the asset store and get free stuff, or pay for stuff if you want, and import that directly into your environment as well. And look, it even has some nifty, pretty low-res shadow mapping happening by default. Okay, so this is a good place for us to get started. Now, if you want to go back to an application once you've, built it, or rather, first of all, let's show you how to get the heck out of here. So, on your controller here, I'm pointing at it with the tip of this one. You see your Oculus button. If you press your Oculus button, it brings up your Oculus menu. And if you want to get out of this application, you click Quit. And boom, you're back to the waiting room. Now, if you want to get back to your application that you built after you've closed it, you can go to Apps. The very first time you do it, it's going to look like this. Well, maybe not exactly like this, but you get what I'm saying. It's going to show the apps that you've got installed. Applications that you built are not going to show up here, because apparently the developer is an untrustworthy source. Anyway, if you go up here to the top where it says All, you click that drop-down menu and you scroll down, and there's something that says Unknown Sources. That's you. So select Unknown Sources, and then running apps from unknown sources may put your account and device at risk. So, general common sense use things here. Just don't go download things willy-nilly, and install on your headset and run them, thinking that you're going to be safe all the time. You can trust the apps that you build, but be cautious when putting other stuff on your headset. So remember, we called this another Quest 2 demo. So if we hit this happens. Made with Unity. And here we are back in our, somewhat boring but, very fundamental virtual environment. And so we can hit our Oculus button again, and we can quit, or we can resume, and okay. While we're here, let's just go ahead and show you, if you build applications that don't work the way you want, and you don't want them on your headset, they might be taking up too much room or something, you can go over here to the little dots and click that, and you can do uninstall. And boom, it's gone. Another thing that you might want to be aware of, sometimes you want to share your experience in the headset with other folks. You can go down here to the sharing button, and it gives you a couple options. You can record video, you can take a picture, you can stream. I think it only streams to Facebook, but I'm not sure about that. Let's just click it, and it won't let me click it since I'm casting. Casting is what I'm currently doing. This will actually stream to Chromecast compatible devices. And you can also stream to a web browser. So if you're logged into the Oculus website, you can go to oculus.com/casting and enable casting, and you can, watch what you're doing inside of your web browser, or someone else can watch what you're doing from within a web browser. This is actually how I'm recording this video right now. I've got it casting to one of my other desktop screens, and we're using OBS to record that. Of course, you can also record videos, and they'll store a copy on your locally on your device. So there is one thing I want to tell you guys about that might be helpful. This is more of a side note. There is it's a for-profit app. It's called Virtual Desktop. I actually really love using this. It lets you connect to your headset wirelessly and also connect to your desktop wirelessly. So like I can open this up, and yeah, look, it gives you a nice room. You can actually select rooms. Yeah, and then there's Unity. So this is coming from my desktop. If I wanted to, I could switch monitors. So there's the monitor that's doing my video capture right now. Here we are back to Unity. It's a little harder if you actually want to use this to work on your desktop. A little bit harder to use than it's just your standard screen. But if you're good at touch typing, this is obviously not a real keyboard. But if you're good at touch typing, you can actually use this pretty reasonably. It's not super high res, so you might need to get in close to the screen, but it's fairly useful. Anyway, so we're going to end with that, and if you guys have questions, feel free to ask me either on email or in class or whatnot. Also, talk with your classmates. Your classmates are awesome. Some of you have been developing since before this class, and those folks know some tips and tricks that might be useful. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I hope you're all doing well, staying happy, healthy, and safe.